how has COVID-19 affected you, your family, your community? How are you guys affected by it? And just raise your hand so we can see who's talking first. Yes, ma'am.
When I was in high school and we had to like learn off a computer for like 2 years, and that was like really hard because a lot of us can't learn over a screen.
Gotcha. Okay, good point. Yes, ma'am.
When COVID hit, I was a senior, so they had cut our year short in the middle. So after Christmas break, we was never went back to school.
Somebody else. How will you guys impacted you, your family, your community? Yes.
Being in the house with my mom 24/7.
Say it again.
Being in the house with all the time. I love them too. Like I
But not
really
24/7. I understand. Anybody else? Anybody else? How did it impact you? Yes, ma'am.
just financially, since they couldn't work. So we had to give up a lot of stuff.
Gotcha. Anybody else? Next question. If you received or you plan to receive the vaccine, right? Vaccine for COVID-19, what are or were your reasons for doing so? And has your views changed about the vaccine? So anybody who'd like to share, I either have it or I plan on getting the vaccine, and this is kind of my, these are some of my reasons. Anybody? Yes.
I really didn't want the vaccine. I really don't like chemicals going into my body like that. But then I had to get the vaccine because I was going to Puerto Rico, but I only got one shot. And I didn't get the second shot because I still don't want it.
Okay. So you got the one because you had to travel. Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah. I had to get it as well. I had to travel to the Dominican Republic. So I had to get the vaccine.
That's the reason you got it. So if you didn't have to travel,
I never got the second shot.
so if you didn't have to travel, you would never have got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
The vaccine, but it was like this kind of a pressure thing a little bit because my mom works for the state and it's like she helps set up like the actual stations and stuff. So it was kind of like I didn't want to get it right away to wait till like everybody was like like it was like actually working on people, but my mom didn't get it like early because she helps set up everything. And I didn't really want to, and I had to, because my mom works under a very like powerful, not powerful woman, but like she like her secretary, so it's kind of like, oh, if you don't get it, what is she gonna do?
Gotcha. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
For me, it was voluntary and also because I had work, but I decided to get both of them.
Okay.
But I mean, it hurt for a while because my arm was sore, but I got over it and I didn't get COVID because I normally stay inside, but I still needed to get it for work. So that's one thing.
So you got it through work. Has any of your views changed about the vaccine over time, whether when you got it, did any of your views change about why you needed it, or you're okay now, or anything? Just curious what your views have changed. Yeah.
For me personally, I wanted to get it, but didn't. But since I'm realizing that I don't think it's something that necessarily everyone needs to get. I understand that the idea is to try to get everybody immune or at least resistant to it to stop the spread. However, I think only really the people who have a compromised immune system, whether they're older or have some sort of sickness in it. But for people like me who are healthy and everything like that, I got COVID and I was okay. And since then I haven't gotten it despite being exposed a couple times. So I truly think that it's just something that certain people need to get, but it being pushed, on everybody else wasn't really something that really needs to happen, like it was happening.
Good point. Good point. Oh, by the way, I meant to say the Spire staff, y'all can answer some of these questions.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. There's a couple of them. So a follow-up question. So what was your experience getting the vaccine like from making the appointment to receiving it? Yeah.
My arm was hurting. It was just numb.
Okay.
I couldn't do too much with my arm
For how long?
for like 2 days.
Okay.
And then after 2 days, it was just like, I don't know, it wasn't the same though. It wasn't the same. My arm wasn't functioning the way it would function without the vaccine. And then got immune, so it was regular after that.
Okay. How was like getting an appointment and all that kind of stuff? Was it easy to get to or?
Yeah, I was trying to do it. It was easy. I
Okay.
just made the appointment, walked in and walked out.
Sounds good. Anybody else? For those of you that, they got it, what was the experience like getting it, making the appointment to receive it?
Yeah, it was pretty simple. I made the appointment online, I did it next morning, and it took them like 10 minutes, and then I was gone.
Anybody else? Anybody else's experience with the vaccine appointment? Okay. For those of you who have not received it and do not plan on receiving it, what was your reason? And have they changed it all? So if you decide, hey, I'm not getting it and I don't plan on getting the vaccine, what are or were your reasons for not doing so? And has your view about the vaccine changed? Yeah.
I was just kind of suspicious because how do they make something in like probably what 2 years in advance, but not figure out something that has been here since like day one, like cancer? They haven't figured out like how to fix that, but they figured out how to fix COVID once it came. So I was kind of suspicious about that.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, to add on what she said, because I agree with all that. It was also really pressured, so I was just like why do I have to get it to go to a certain college, or why do I have to get it to go into this building and stuff like that?
Okay. So you haven't received it, you don't plan on receiving it?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else who has not received it, doesn't plan on receiving it? You kind of mentioned it a little earlier.
Yeah. But my reason for not getting it now is just simply, I don't think,
Okay.
because clearly, I can handle sickness and have it. So I just don't think I really.
Okay. That's good. When you guys were thinking about getting the COVID vaccine, right? Who or where did you go to get information? And what sources do you trust? So where did you guys get this information that you have about the COVID vaccine and kind of, yeah.
CDC website.
Okay, so you went to the CDC website. You went straight to the experts. Okay. Anybody else? Where did y'all go to get information, or how did you get your information? Was it just what people around you said, what you saw on the news? Like, just hear your thoughts, Kind of how did you get the information about the vaccine? Yeah.
When I saw on the news, I was on social media, and then I just started making my own assumptions, and all assumptions are right, so.
Tell me about it. So you said the news. Can you tell me a little bit about like what news and then what social media you may have listened to? I'm just curious.
They were getting the vaccine and people was still dying, and it wasn't even really working for real. So yeah,
Okay.
I forgot.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So where did you go to get information? Who did you talk to, or where did you go?
I don't have the vaccine, but when I was curious about it, I went to my doctor. Like
Okay.
just straight up to the doctor.
Who
They
your
had
doctor
all
said?
the information. They recommended me to like different urgent cares and stuff like near my area where I live to get tested if I felt like I had COVID before. And then if I wanted to get the vaccine, I wasn't really interested, so I didn't ask like where. But they also had like all information on that. Like I just had to give them my zip code and they give me a place.
Did your doctor encourage you to get the vaccine, or not really? Just kind of left it out there.
You know, they just left it out there. I asked about it and they gave me the information.
Interesting. Great feedback. Anybody else? Where did you go? Who did you talk to? I mean, we have some strong opinions about the vaccine. Like, where did you guys go?
My cousin, he's a scientist. And I told
Okay.
him to send it the news person.
So you called your cousin. Okay, that's good. Somebody else. I'd love to hear specifically about like what news stations or even what websites or social media. I'm just curious.
That Johnson one, yeah. So the information on that, so that was my first.
Okay.
Like seeing the Johnson one. I think a couple of women were messing up like their ability to have kids and stuff like that.
And where you get this information from?
I seen it on the news.
What news? I'm just curious.
Where did I see it? I think. I don't know. Give me
Was it CNN? Was it MSNBC? Was it Fox? You don't have to be specific, but I just
Instagram, to be honest.
you saw it on Instagram. Do you know?
On World Star.
World Star.
The new was TikTok. You know, we trying to find TikTok shit.
All right, so y'all gonna TikTok to get it on you. And World Star, very valid site for the culture, for the culture.
For fat.
Yeah.
They do.
And then they give you some space to give your opinions.
Yeah. So those are trustworthy sites for you guys.
I mean, trustworthy.
Is a stretch.
So that's when you get your information, but you're not sure you trust it.
It's like, okay, it gets thrown at you on there, but then you can go on Google and look it up and find other resources. But that's where it's just like, that's where you hear from it. But then you're like, oh, okay, let me look more into it because it's the social media. Let me go on Google and find a better site or something.
And so when you go to Google, this is so good that what you're saying about that. When you go to Google, like how you determine maybe like, is this a good site that I found on Google? Like, you know, for what do you, like, how do you guys, I'm just curious, how do you determine which one you trust? Because I can Google something, and it'll give you 5 different, 1,000 different things. So, like, how do you guys determine like, oh, this one is definitely trustworthy?
Option.
The top one. Okay.
Yeah, and if it was .org.
Yeah.
.org. I think it's .org.
Gov.
Yeah.
.gov or .org. Okay, that's good. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Do you guys say, Boston, let me ask you, are COVID vaccines very available in your community, or if they're not, what are some barriers?
Yeah.
They're very available, not hard to get, anybody? They're really available.
That's what makes it kind of scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
you know what I like? I didn't like how they was running it like an assembly line. That's the part that was shaking me too. I was like, yo, we in here like herd. And we going one by one. So,
Do you have the vaccine? Because you look crazy trying to put
Okay, so the people that were actually administering the vaccine, you talking about in the super sites, the place where like was a whole bunch of people doing
And
it?
even to get tested, like they just look like it's like it looks unreal, like some movie stuff.
Right.
Like they're in like a spacesuit just to like.
Curiously, why do you think they were wearing those kind of spacesuits?
I knew it was for protection, but like guess like imagine how people feel going in there, and it's like even if you don't, even if you do, if you don't, like it just feels weird. It's like, well, oh, that's not like no.
my early 30s, I just want to know this, like, for older people in the room, have you ever seen something like this before? Like, as far as like, okay, so it was an outbreak, and then it goes down like this, like how COVID went down. My great grandma said she never seen it.
Well, I ain't that old. The last time this happened was like 1917. So,
It looks like this though.
No, we've never had a pandemic while I'm alive.
No.
Yeah.
Once again, we have not had a pandemic since I've been walking the earth. Polio was like in 1910, 30, they got rid of polio. Like polio was an issue. I wasn't rocking with polio.
HIV.
That's a great question, but HIV was not a pandemic. It was a scary, that's a better way of looking at it. It was an epidemic. It definitely was a serious health crisis. And I guess in that sense, the similarities was the fear and the lack of information. Right? I remember when HIV first came out, like today, people are getting HIV, they take their medicines and they're living fine, or whatever. But when it first came out, it was like, it was a death sentence and everybody was scared. And, it led to a lot of bad decisions that people did towards what they assumed was the gay community. They thought that the gay community was. So I think that's a very valid point. Okay. So you guys said there's no issues around getting it. What do you think the state or local organizations can contribute to having people be more confident in the vaccine? So what could like government officials or state agencies, what could they do to make you guys feel more confident in and have access to the vaccine? So you said access isn't a problem. But what about just feeling like, okay, I feel like it's safe? What could they do to make you feel better about it? You said nothing? Okay.
I think mine.
More transparency,
More transparency, what does that mean?
being able to actually put out all the studies. And like,
Yeah.
saying, like,
Yeah.
oh, this is
That's
what's
what-
happening, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, this is when we're doing it, this is why we're doing it. You know, they don't really give us that, and that's why so many people are so like standoffish towards it. Like she said, it was maybe like 2 years.
Mhm.
And it was something that like nobody had ever heard of before. It's just like wild. Like, how can we do that? And like nobody's really ever heard of this sickness before.
Mhm.
So like you at some point you have to realize that you have to make a compromise with the people, and you can't get mad at them for being like, oh, I don't want this and I don't trust you when you're not giving us a reason to trust you.
Right.
Good point.
Yeah, it was a lot of outlook on my end too, like a lot of, everybody was kind of unsure about it.
Mhm.
And so how I viewed it is like, okay, so we the test dummy, we the guinea pig.
Right. Yeah.
So that was, when just going to different communities, there was a lot of people, perspective towards it as well, which is why, then it's also like that thing where we already don't trust the government. We already don't trust the information they put out, so it's like, so that didn't make it no better.
Gotcha. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts? What do you think they could do that would help you? So you said, put out more information on the studies and how they got there, et cetera, the research,
Maybe what's in it.
telling you what's in it. Okay.
No one, I don't think they have ever told anybody that.
And saying it in a way that most people can understand it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Not like
Usually
saying
they would say like,
just like the actual.
But like still the truth. Like don't sugarcoat it, be for real.
yeah. Like, come.
Yeah, that's another thing too, man. When the commercials be coming on about the medicine, why you talk fast when they
Just like that.
you talk slow, when the commercial, then you get to that part right there, like, oh, by the way.
Let's stay focused on COVID vaccine. That's all the medicine, tell you how this does this and then but side effects, so I get that. That's good. But when you guys think about the state, so do you think they're doing a good job communicating like websites to go? Because I think some of the things that you guys brought up, it's out there. Like you can go to the CDC website and kind of learn how to get the sample size, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. Do you think it's maybe not that it's not out there, or is it not out there in a way that most people can digest it?
Yeah, they need like they need to say, like they need to give us a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And like just say, you can print this out and read it, and this is what.
Yeah.
Anyways, a lot of people in this country don't have a proper education, so they can't even read this stuff.
I will
They can't
say,
even comprehend it. So you have to,
Explain yourself.
yeah.
There are individual studies for people who do that sort of thing, that where individual teams do research it and put it into more simple terms for people who don't, have advanced vocabulary to understand specific terms. And they do have a lot out there because, it's fairly easy for them to get a sample of the vaccine, considering there's so much of it put.
Yeah.
And my thing with the vaccine is I was never sort of the type, like I respect the suspicion and everything, especially with how fast it was developed. For me though, the whole thing with it being developed quickly makes sense because this was the first time where a sickness came about where the entire world worked on it and like actually shared information with each other. So since all the top doctors and everything across the world were working on it, obviously whether they wanted money out of it or help, but it was a lot of them actually working together and sharing their information with each other. Not only that, but the COVID-19 virus had already existed before, well, not COVID-19 specifically, but COVID had existed before the outbreak. The spiky virus protein or whatever it is that makes it dangerous had existed, and they had research on it. But the sickness it gave you was not as intense. I believe I read it was like every adult in America had most likely had COVID before and just thought it was cold because it was the same thing. So there was already some research about it, but the reason why they never worked on the vaccine for it before is because it wasn't direct. So I think that's part of it. and the fact that I believe COVID is the first synthetic vaccine, not made by actually using the virus itself, but by making a synthetic version of it and administering it. That's why the Johnson and Johnson one was so bad, because they used the actual material one. And that ended up causing issue because it had never been done with that specific type of protein virus. But since they were able to do it synthetically without adding those risk factors to it, it made it safe. That's how I feel.
Interesting.
See, that's what I'm talking about. We didn't know this.
So why doesn't the government just let us know?
They're not very clear about it. They don't come out and tell you. The issue is that you have to seek out the
And then it's like people like me, I don't believe nothing unless it's like the real deal. It's like, and it's like, not that they're wrong, but it's like, I'm the type that, yeah, y'all did that, but like, why is the government telling us? Like,
Yeah, I don't.
why aren't
I don't
they
trust the
stamping
government.
that it's real?
And on top of that, they were paying people to take this vaccine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes it more suspicious.
They were?
Yeah. Gift card? Yeah.
Oh, it was an incentive. They were giving incentives,
And
yeah.
the ads that they would put out felt very assuring and misleading. Like they were like, oh, you'll let down your people in your community. And everybody will be sad if they don't get the vaccine. I would have rather them just be like, hey, listen, if you don't, you're screwed. Oh well, you. Or it could be here again.
Yeah.
Tell them why it's gonna, like, that's not,
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. And then he had the president taking it in front of everybody. They had a prime jam. Everybody taking all that.
Yeah, well, we all know that the vaccine doesn't stop.
I
you
know
from
it
getting
doesn't.
it. It keeps you from
But-
getting COVID, getting you back. That's what.
But for the president to get taking the vaccine in front of everyone.
Yeah,
was
that's
also
kinda like-
And it's something
Like,
dying
something
because of the vaccine.
Yeah.
That also, I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
Part of the issue with the vaccine now is all the different strains of the virus that keeps coming out. My brother's vaccinated, but has got it every single time. He got it the first time and was vaccinated, and all the new strains that keep coming out,
Oh,
the virus has had it.
I'm not getting the vaccine for every different strain y'all got.
You don't have to. Once again, great conversation, great insight. Clearly, we need more concrete information, right? It sounds like, but I think part of the challenge is, that I hear you guys talking is we're using terms like the government, media, certain things, but it's like, well, where are those credible sources, right? Who is the government? Like, were you guys listening to Fauci? Or were you listening to this senator from Wisconsin, the government, like, how are y'all determining who the government is? I think can be some of the challenge too. So very interesting. Let me ask another question real quick. So locally, when you think about locally in our state, and even in our communities, what do you think the health department? How many of y'all are familiar with the health department in Burlington County? Okay. Anybody know where it is?
No,
Okay, West Hampton, right behind the library, right, places like that. Do you think they play a role in like getting information out? You know what I mean, like the local health departments, or what could they do to help communicate the message better? You guys kind of talked a little bit about that, about making it more simple for laymen to understand, but what are some other things that you feel like they could do to improve the communication and messages about the vaccine?
I personally don't like the news. I feel like a lot of the news is very just opinionated.
Yeah.
The facts don't truly matter, as a lot of them are politically aligned, but.
So what do you think, like local health departments, they're less political,
I think with the local news, the local health department should be on there talking about the vaccine, giving information to them, the common people. And I feel like a lot of times where they have a scientist or a doctor on the news, and they feel like a salesman. I feel like I'm watching the Sham Wow guy. But I'd rather it be some like old dude who like is like a nerd or something, but at least he's telling the truth.
like Anthony Fauci?
I'd rather it be like the actual head doctor.
Love to hear this from the other.
Neil deGrasse Tyson's cool, but he's a little wild. He's a little.
Jonathan, what are some of your thoughts?
Oh, no, man, I ain't got no thoughts on none of this. 'Cause I don't, No,
Okay, well, I feel like the health department can they like talk to the doctors and have the doctors say stuff to us? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not about to read no mail. I'm not reading mail. I'm not watching any movies. Sorry, but it's 2022. I'm not.
But you go to World Star though.
It pops up. It just, I don't know.
I'm with you, I'm with you.
But like truth be told, like our street, we're not gonna pay attention to them or on the paper. So like things that we have to do, why don't they try to like slip it in there? Not even on the like, oh, by the way, you should get the vaccine. Or I'm like, if you're curious about this, we have information about this.
So you think your local doctor should do more? Like your doctor should be the one reaching out to
Instead
you?
of us going in there like, I have a problem, I'm sick, this was wrong.
Okay. So,
Like it should go like.
so your doctor's on. Just curious, show of hands, how many of y'all have like a regular doctor? Like, like I always go to Dr. Smith or Dr. Okay. So you think your doctor's, okay, that's good to know. Anybody else, any other thoughts about that? What can they do to improve communication and messages about the vaccine? You guys kind of answered that a little bit before, so I'm not gonna. And then how many of you guys actually had the opportunity to talk to your healthcare provider? I know you said you spoke to your doctor. But anybody else actually talk to your own doctor? And kind of what was that conversation like? You know, what were they saying to you about it? Anybody actually talk to their own doctor? Y'all just said that's what we should be talking to. Hey, nobody talking to me. Y'all talking to World Star. Please.
It was also like, I feel like they should have a parent with us when we do ask.
Okay.
Like, I kind of like thought about it after, because I did ask and I was like 16, 17 and I asked about it.
Okay.
And she was more than happy, oh, you need to go here. Like I could like show you, but my mom was in the waiting room. What if I'm young trying to make a dumb decision? Like,
Okay.
I'm a little
So
girl.
consent. Okay. What about you? Did you talk to your doctor? You didn't talk to your doctor?
Vacation.
Okay.
Got it, took vacation, everybody. I think that vaccine wore off though, in a long time.
What about you? Did you talk to your doctor about it? Or what was that conversation like?
I told him I wasn't taking it,
Okay.
but he was trying to persuade me to take it.
So your doctor tried to persuade you? Okay. But it didn't work for you? You ain't that good of a salesman, doc. Okay, that's good. Boston, what about you? Did you talk to your doctor about it at all, or?
I did, but I forgot what happened though.
Okay,
That was well.
okay.
I know.
But do you remember how you felt? Did you feel like your doctor was an informed person, or was he pushing something, or, did you feel?
Since he was a doctor, I would hope he's informed, but
Okay, you kind of trust your doctor?
yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, that's good. Is there anything else that you would like to share that wasn't asked? Once again, this allows people to, in the policy making, side, of people that kind of help decide, hey, this is what we should do. What do you think they need to know? Last closing thoughts, anybody, like, I really wish they knew this, especially about either our age group or people in my community. Like, I don't know if they really realize this when they think about it. Any thought?
The effect of people,
Talk to us about it.
like, say, explain it like some people, like, I feel like they should just really improve their healthcare overall. Like, there's just a lot of, like, how we have to, like, pay for healthcare or pay for certain things, in that, and then, like, I don't know how to explain it, like, cause financially, a lot of people, since 2020 started, financially, people would like, it was downhill, like, a lot of people lost healthcare, a lot of people lost, families, a lot of people lost, like, a lot of money. So, so just putting that COVID, vaccine out there, then overall, like, the healthcare is expensive, like, I think it was like $1,000 just to like walk in, walk out without no information or telling you what sickness you had. Like, I think they should just improve in their healthcare, improve
Okay.
in
So you're talking about healthcare system overall needs.
overall.
Got it. That would make it better when it's time for these kinds of situations. Okay.
Also, like, get to understanding that the generation now, like, you gotta communicate a different way than you used to. Cause a lot of us aren't processing what they're giving us the right way, or we're not taking it the right way, or we're spreading it the wrong way, like, some information.
Others just don't like, so don't.
Yeah.
So they just, like, improve their reputation with them.
Don't like who? Did you say don't like them?
That just- The people that put us in this position, like your
Mm.
generation. Most of the, like, most people probably. Like, like baby boomers and generations before us are actually like.
I'm not baby. I'm the generation. The oldest of the millennials. What y'all doing?
The government, we don't like anybody that's older than us because we know that they probably did something bad to put us in this place in ours. So we kind of just generalize in a sense, just kind of goes downhill from there because we don't like you in the first place. So when something like that happens, what makes you think we're gonna want to listen to you?
Excuse me one second. Let me pick up my self-esteem.
No.
I'll be personal. I was saying, I'm not done with it. All right. Everybody else, what are some of your closing thoughts? Let me hear. Is there anything that you wish that you could communicate? Maybe a question I didn't ask, or something you feel like you didn't know this?
About COVID?
Yeah, about our experience with COVID, about how we think they should communicate stuff to us, or how we can handle some of these crises, because this may happen again. In 10 years or something. So what do you think? Like, man, I hope that they learned this or anything.
I don't know. To be honest, I feel like it's always a virus or something like every 10 years.
Okay.
And they make a vaccine. I mean, it's like a pattern. So I feel like they be trying to figure this out.
Population control. Didn't hurt. Okay. Anybody else? Any other thoughts that y'all have? Any other comments?
Yeah, I just think it's supposed to be, it's gotta be better transparency, to build the trust between us and the hospitals, us and the doctors. Even when they was ushering out the mandate, a lot of that stuff, it was like, okay, we go with it because of the rule that's in place, but it wasn't really explained, or it makes too much sense. Like, if this, one week you can have 50 people in a restaurant, next week is 100 capacity, but you gotta keep your mask on until you eat it.
And that make no sense.
So for me, when I'm listening to her and I'm seeing it, I'm like, yeah, check this. How do we stop the spread? If I'm eating, I say I'm allowed to take my mask off, but I gotta walk in and have it on the entire time. How is the mask really? Like, it's just certain things, nuances that I think have to be explained. In layman's terms, like she said, break it down to where everybody can get it, and then also, there's a lack of trust, but at the same time, it's like this societal pressure that's happening at the same time. We won't trust that either. It's like there's this pressure that's happening. You see 1,000 commercials, you see everybody talking about it. But then at the end, nobody is 100% sure what they're even saying. They're like, oh, well, I think COVID was best. And you're like, what you mean by that? So it just, yeah, those things.
Well, it's good. Any other thoughts? I think you guys bring up a lot of very valid concerns, and I thank you for your time and what you guys shared. I know it's going to make a difference as people think about policies, messaging, things of that nature. It's difficult today, right? Because there's so many different news sources. When my old generation was growing up, we had, just a few television stations, right? And you pretty much, whatever Tom Brokaw said was true. Whatever Walter Cronkite said was pretty much true. But now there's 8 million outlets, and I didn't even have the internet. I did all my reports on this thing called an encyclopedia. Everything you need to know in the world was in 20 books. Well, that was until I was in 4th grade. But I think you guys have some very valid concerns because things have changed so much. So thank you for sharing.